Welcome to Look Behind the Look, the new podcast that examines iconic looks in film, television, music, and fashion history. I'm your host, Tiffany Bartok. Hello, and welcome to a new episode of Look Behind the Look. Today, I am sharing a conversation I had with Dana Covarrubias, the costume designer for Only Murders in the Building, which I know you are watching. Everybody's talking about these costumes. They are constantly in the press, talking about where you can get knockoffs of Selena Gomez's sweaters and coats. And of course, everybody's talking about Martin Short's show-stopping purple coat, which was in episode 1 and which instantly made me want to talk to Dana. I'm so glad I did. She's super fun and really interesting, and she does a great job with this show. I talked to her mid-season, and all of the episodes are up now. So by all means, binge the show if you haven't already watched the whole thing, because there's a confirmed season 2, and you're going to want to be up to date on everything, so you can just start right in on season 2. Now, I got this from Dana's About page because I was reading all about her, and she's so accomplished and has done so much that I just thought it was easiest to share what she said about herself. Dana is a costume designer for film and television, and she's designed costumes for multiple award-winning shows and groundbreaking television shows like Master of None, Rami, Crashing, Claws, Quantico, Broad City, and Inside Amy Schumer. In 2018, Dana was honored by New York Women in Film, NYWIFT, for her achievement in costume design. Dana is a proud Texican who has been living in New York for over 17 years and has worked in multiple countries, including Ireland, Canada, and Italy. She continues to seek out projects and champion women, diversity, gender nonconformity, and the underrepresented. I hope you enjoy our conversation as much as I did. She shared lots of fun stories about things, everything from Sting to growing up in a mall, which is an amazing feat in itself. And that inspired her to do what she does, and you'll hear why. And she's so relatable and wonderful and does such great work. And I'm really excited to share this episode with you. I hope you enjoy it. I am here with Dana, and we're talking about Only Murders in the Building, which just was renewed today for a second season, which is so exciting. So how many episodes do we get this season? 8?
I think it's 10.
Okay, good.
Oh my gosh, I don't even remember.
The fifth one comes out tonight. We were able, it was a tease because we were able to binge the first 3, and then now it's weekly on Tuesdays. So I'm like withdrawing slightly.
Yeah.
But of course, I want to talk to you about everything. It looks like so much fun to work on. I'm sure that's all true, right? You're having so much fun.
Literally a dream come true.
Tell me how the project came about for you.
Well, I think I just had the perfect resume that led me into this project because I've really done a lot of comedy. Designing tons of comedy. I think the first thing I ever had designed was the show Louie. And then I did Master of None, and I worked with Amy Schumer and Amy Poehler, and I just worked with all these mega comedy stars. And then I've also done some sort of cop procedural, that kind of world thing too. So I think just the two of those together were it's perfect. It's mystery, and comedy combined. Right. But yeah, I got the scripts and I read them, and as soon as I heard who the cast was, I was like, this is insane. This is crazy. This is a dream come true. And I can't even imagine being able to work with these mega stars. And then the interview just went so great. I loved from the very moment we said hello, I just loved John Hoffman, our show creator. He's just so sweet and so talented and creative. And once I heard his vision for the show and we started talking about it, it just seemed like such a perfect fit. I lived in New York for almost 20 years, and yeah, he in the interview, he actually started asking about, what my experience was living in a building with tons of other people, and you see people passing in the hallway, and you kind of know a little bit about their life, but you try to figure out, and you're like, oh, are they married? Are they dating? Just that whole mystery of living in a big building in New York City. I was very familiar with that. So I think he was like, this is our girl.
That really pays off. That vision really pays off. I have so many questions already. First of all, what's the difference between, this is probably obvious to you as a costume designer, but what would be a difference between comedy and drama costumes. Do you know what I
Well,
mean? Because I feel like it's
yeah,
even though the purple coat, the yellow sweater, like
yeah.
even though there's pops of color, it doesn't feel cartoony at all to me.
Yes, and that I think is the other reason that I get hired a lot for doing
Uh-huh.
comedy
Right.
stuff, because I think in my main goal when I'm doing comedy is to make sure that I'm grounded enough in reality that it's not, you're really letting the comedians do the work and the script do the work. And as the designer, you're sort of trying to ground it a little bit more. Because if you go too far with things being too silly, then it takes you out of it in a way.
Yes.
So I think that's like the being really nuanced with that. Keeping the reality in the look is really
Mhm.
important. But all that being said, one of my favorite parts of working in comedy and having worked on so many comedies is like, randomly they're like, we need a giant, bunny costume with like, and he's like holding a machete and we need it tomorrow, and you're like, okay, cool. Like I have to like figure out how to make this, how to, find this or make it. And that kind of stuff is
Let me
just
call
so,
my bunny guy.
but yeah,
Yeah.
let me have a buddy guy. Let me give him a call. But yeah, there's always just those hilarious, things that come up. So that part of it makes it really fun. But then when I've done, cop procedurals or dramas, those are just, you really have to think about your color palette. You have to keep
Uh-huh.
it really, it depends on the project, but like it's much more muted. You don't want to do anything like too loud pattern wise.
Well,
Um,
yeah, I
you're
I
just
mean,
you're a little more strict.
confined. Yeah.
Confined.
Right,
Yeah, a little
right.
bit, which is fun in its own way, because then it's that thing with artists all the time. When you have when you are confined, it actually allows you to like play in an interesting way. So
Sure.
that can be
Yeah, that
exciting
makes total
too.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
But
mean, for elementary, you did elementary, yeah?
I was the assistant designer on elementary for
Uh-huh.
2 years under Rebecca Hoffer, who was the head designer. So I got a lot of my training sort of like in that world of detective mystery from Rebecca, and like working on
Yeah.
that project for 2 years. And then I had designed Quantico, which was like
Yes.
the big sort of like cop, type show that
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, but it's both still very stylish,
Yes,
but
exactly.
even like one might say muted, but like
Yep.
not at all.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's like where you have to find the balance. Again, I think it's like when you're in comedy, you're trying to find the balance of like not going too far in the comedy direction. And then when you're doing a drama, you're trying to find a balance. Like you want to be a little stylish and um, you know, have some fashion in there, but at the same time it has to be like somewhat realistic for what a police officer or a detective would actually
Right.
wear. Not so ridiculous that it takes the viewer out of the show.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, that being said, though, the purple coat in Only Murders in the Building is already iconic, and I feel like I need to be it for Halloween.
Yes. Yeah.
It's amazing. Can you tell me how that came about? Because I know there were sketches floating around, and I was
Yeah.
anticipating, that it would be a reoccurring coat, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so the Marty's purple coat, that's a Hader Ackerman coat. And we probably tried, I think we had 3 or 4 full racks of coat
Oh,
options just for
wow.
that one look.
Wow.
Um, that we sourced from all over the world, literally. And we we tried so many different things, but it was really interesting because that was the first episode. It was the first fitting we had with Marty, and we really took that opportunity to define who the character was.
Yeah.
And what's weird was that it was scripted, that he had that line where he's like, the taxi almost hits him and he's like, did you not see this coat? So it had to be, so that was scripted, that was just in the script, so we knew the coat had to be something
Okay.
special or in some way that that line made sense. But at the same time, Marty didn't want this one line to define his whole character, if that makes
Okay,
sense.
like fabulous.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So he was like, I want my character to be a
Wow.
real person and grounded, and like I want to be the thing that is, like he
The
wants to
flashiest.
bring the character, he wants to bring it to the character instead of the
Wow.
costume wearing him. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So we tried a bunch of like really crazy coats. Like, oh my God, we had some that had like shearling that was like this long, and it was like giant, faux fur, like crazy, crazy, like super bright colors, like things that had like straps hanging, like really avant-garde, like really interesting stuff. But all of it just seemed a little too much, and too much like it was wearing him.
Yes.
So then when we found that purple Hader Ackerman coat, it just seemed perfect. It was just like sophisticated, but that beautiful royal purple, which was very shocking. And, not a lot of people can pull that off or wear that. But it was still very masculine in the
Yep.
silhouette and in the shoulder, but it had that really dramatic length to it.
Yes.
Yeah, it just was perfect. And he loved it. And everyone was just like, this is it. This is the
Ah, I love
Yeah.
it. So now from that one experience, that's evidence that Marty is a complete genius, which we all know, and he's unstoppable. And
That's a genius. That's crazy.
what was it like the first time you met him?
Oh, like just so easy. I mean, he's just like the chillest, nicest, just we actually did his fitting in the house he was renting while he was on the show. That was beautiful. And he just welcomed us in, and me and my assistants, and it's like, in the middle of the pandemic. So we were like full hazmat. Like hazmat.
Like, this is Martin Short. Like, don't give, you're dead if you give him COVID.
Oh my God. Yeah. So we walk into his apartment, and we're just like fully, me and my assistants are like fully hazmated out. And he's just like, let me make you some coffee, he's just the sweetest. And we had an amazing fitting. And I think most actors, and him as well, it's always just a conversation in the fitting, and they're so happy to have that conversation. And that's where the magic happens. Like, that's where the characters are created. I think a lot of people have maybe a misconception that as a costume designer, you're coming in and you're like, this is what it is, this is what the costume is, I've designed this, it's all done. And well, in my experience, at least, it's never that. And like, you're coming in and it's a conversation, and you have options, and it's a back and forth. And that back and forth with Marty was just always so fun. And we were just cracking up, just like laughing, tears streaming, like laughing.
You don't want it to end. Oh my God.
He just never turns off. He's just constantly funny all the time.
And is Steve Martin the straight guy? Like, poor Steve, we're not even talking about his costumes. I feel so
totally.
bad, but that's the point, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that is the point. Yeah, we in contrast to Marty, and sort of, in Steve's whole character, was that he's really fixated on simplicity, and he repeats everything. He had 6 sweaters that were very similar, 6 shirts that were very similar, and it was all very repetitive. And he found his character finds comfort in having that sort of repetitive wardrobe. But yeah, he was totally, and personality wise, the straight man also. I mean, he's hilarious also, but some comedians are just constantly going, and some are very quiet and in their day-to-day lives.
Good balance.
Yeah,
good balance. Sometimes you need to just take a Steve Martin break, I'm sure, from Martin Short.
Yeah, it's so sweet. I mean, everyone on this cast, it was like literally a dream come true. They were just the nicest human beings.
Was Selena Gomez always part of the project, or were the 2 boys? It was the trio always.
I think it's like, as soon as I got involved, I had always heard it was Selena. Like, there was never another person like that they were talking about. So it was always like Selena Gomez. And that was, I think, so interesting. And then another reason maybe why my resume and my history like made sense for the project, because I'm also half Mexican and from Texas, like Selena.
No way.
I think we both had that sort of thing in common. So I think like myself being in my like late 30s, having worked in comedy with all these comedy gods, I think they were like, okay, this girl is young and like knows New York street fashion and can do the young sort of like hip Selena thing, but also has worked with like these, older comedians and whatever. And so she knows that world too.
I mean, it's so comfortable. The 3 of them are so comfortable together. I just totally buy it for some reason.
Yeah. And that was our main goal. And that was the, early on when we were designing the show, it was just sort of like, how do we make that happen? Like, how do we find that balance to make her make sense standing next to them? Because it could look really weird or or too, too on the nose,
Trying too hard to like
yeah,
get like this is the token, get the young audience
yeah, yeah,
situation. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So
No,
yeah, we
it,
were
it totally
constantly
works.
looking for stuff for Selena that was either, in one way it was traditional or classic, but then in another way it had some youth or some like hip quality to it. So for example, there's like that one trench coat she wears, it's like an oxblood,
Oh my
like
God.
shiny. You saw,
So
yeah, she's wearing it in
good.
the elevator. Beautiful, beautiful. It's from ASOS, but like that's a perfect example because it's this like really classic silhouette of a trench, but then the fabric was really, non-traditional. So
Right.
that's like we were trying to bring her into their world, into like the Steve Marty world a little bit with the classic silhouettes, but then use a way to show, that she has style and she's young and cool.
What's her job again on the show?
She doesn't, well, so she
Right. She's
doesn't
just a
really
lost
have a
soul.
job.
Yeah.
She's, yeah. So what she's doing is her aunt is paying her to renovate the apartment basically, or to like,
Watch it while they're
help
renovating.
design that apartment.
That's
but
right.
You don't really know.
And we haven't met the aunt
Yeah.
yet.
Mm-mm.
Right. Yet. Yes. And then tell me about Sting. Tell me about Sting.
Oh my God, Sting, what a dream come true. Oh my God, it's so funny because I'm like not, having worked in this industry for so long, I'm not like, I'm never nervous around
Starstruck, yeah.
Starstruck or anything. But for some reason with musicians, I'm like,
Forget it.
It's still my heart, Sting. He was just so sweet. And it was so funny. So I think I talked to his personal stylist before he came in for a fitting, and they gave me like a heads up of all the brands he likes and designers. So we shopped. I did like a big shop for him. We probably had like 2 or 3 racks of options for him. But at the same time, with people like Sting who are playing themselves, they might just come in and say, I'm just going to wear that. Like, I'm playing myself. Can I just wear what I'm wearing?
Yeah.
And so we're prepared for that.
Yeah, sure.
But we also have options in case they don't want to wear their own clothes. And they,
So when you say you're prepared with that, like what's the meeting look like when you're like, it's Sting Day tomorrow? Like, do you, how do you say,
yeah.
like,
well,
is it the producers that say like, you guys, he might want, to wear his own things, or how does that work?
I guess when someone's playing themselves, I always just assume that. I just assume that they might, and then sometimes their stylists will send stuff, like they'll send like a garment bag, and they'll make sure like their personal assistant like brings the garment bag of their personal clothes to the wardrobe department, and we just sort of steam it for them and then like hand it to them.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's that, and sometimes it's a combo, which is what happened with Sting. We shopped, 2 or 3 racks of options to show him. And hilariously, he showed up on the day for his fitting, and he was basically wearing what we shopped for him.
No way.
Like very, very close. And so as he was looking at the options we had for him, he was like, this is great. He's like, you guys got all he's like, yes, yes, yes. There were a few things that he laughed at, and he was like, no.
I want to know what they were, of course. You remember?
Well, so part of the concept for the scene where he's on the theater stage was that that it was like a whole chorus line concept.
Yeah.
With all the like, people from the building doing their chorus line numbers.
That was
so
cool.
One of the ideas was that then when you saw Sting at the end of that I don't know if you're familiar with chorus line, but
of course,
at the very end of the movie, they all come out wearing sparkly gold
for the one number. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so we wanted to have some sort of like nod to that on Sting. So we had a bunch of like sequin, Dolce & Gabbana, like blazers and full like sequin suits and gold and all this like really crazy stuff. And he was like,
no, we're not doing this.
Yeah, no.
That's
the other thing.
Oh, I would have loved to see that.
I know. The other thing that I thought was so funny about Sting was when he, so what the end of that story basically was that he ended up wearing some of our stuff and some of his stuff. He wanted to wear, like his pants, his boots. I think he chose like one of our shirts. And then he loved, like, we had this cute little like leather derby hat that he loved.
Right.
And then, but there was another scene, I think it's the one where he's home and they bring him the turkey. And at one point, I think our director like wanted him to be more casual, like maybe in like a yoga outfit with no shoes on. like that sort of Zen
Yeah.
fitting version. And in the fitting, so we shopped like an entire rack of that kind of stuff. And in the fitting, I showed it to him, and he was like,
What?
"No." I was like, "Okay, that's fine." But he said the funniest thing. He was like, "A rock star never takes their boots off." Yeah. And he was very
It's true.
serious. And I was like,
I believe
"Okay."
that. I believe that completely.
Yeah, he was like, "I will not be barefoot. A rock star never takes their boots off." I was like, "Oh, that's amazing." Yeah, but he was
Oh
so
my
so
God.
nice. Yeah, so sweet.
That sounds like was it a week or a day or
It
what?
was just a day.
A day.
Maybe I think he was there for 2 days. I think he was there for 2 days.
Aw,
Yeah. Yeah.
what a time. Are there any surprises like that coming up or
More guest surprises?
yeah.
Celebrity surprises? Oh gosh, are there? Probably. It's so funny, we shoot these things like a year ago, and then it's so like you have to jog your
Tell me
memory.
about
Like,
that. When
wait, what?
you must have shot during COVID because
Yes, we
you had
started in
the Broadway
October.
stage.
Yeah.
So the
Mhm.
Broadway stage was because they were all shut down, right?
Yeah, they
So
were all shut down.
that's
Yeah.
amazing. What a
And we had
gift.
so many amazing Broadway actors, like musical creative Broadway
Right.
actors in the show,
Nathan
because
Lane.
yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we started filming in October, or no, we started prep in October of, yeah, 2020.
2020. I know the year was lost. It's
I'm
a
like,
vortex.
yeah.
It's just lost. It's totally
Yes, it
erased.
was 2020, yeah, October. And then,
Not this October.
not this, no, no. Yeah.
Was there ever
So,
talk of doing of actually shooting Splash the musical?
yes, and it was cut,
I
and it
knew
was
it.
devastating.
Wait, did you shoot it? Or did they shoot
No, it was cut
shot
from
the
the
idea?
script.
Okay.
Yeah, for time. Yeah, I think
I'm
for
like, is it
time.
out there in the world? We must see it.
I'm actually at the premiere. Like it was like a screening event that they had in New York. I happened to just meet, because writers and costume designers, we're never
Yeah.
in the same room. We never meet each other really.
Right,
But
of course.
I ended up meeting one of our beautiful, wonderful writers, and we were chatting, and I was like, "Dude, season 2, we got to get the Splash thing back in there," because I just thought it was so
Yes, I
hilarious.
agree.
But
I
yes,
agree.
so in our version of the show, they, Marty just describes the moment of the
Mhm.
merman falling off of the stage and splatting onto the ground. But we were at one point going to shoot that. So we did, I know. So we did create, I think, 8 beautiful merman Broadway costumes.
They are out
sitting
there.
They're just sitting there.
I
Yeah.
love it.
They're beautiful. They're beautiful. We had a designer come in and help us create them, who like does all of like Juilliard's like dance costumes. And they're just these beautiful like gold sequin mermaid tails with like, oh, they're just beautiful. So yeah.
Oh
hopefully we'll
my
get there
God.
somewhere.
Let's just do the show.
I know.
Come
Let's just do the
on.
whole show. It'd be a great show. Yeah.
Oh, I would go. I'd be there opening night with
Totally.
my gold outfit on.
Yeah,
Oh my God. Okay, so we have 10 episodes and then we have a second season coming up. That is so exciting. I'm really excited about this because it's something I can tell my mom to watch, and also like the babysitter. And you know what I mean? It's just like the
Yes.
perfect
Me too.
show
Yes.
at the end of the day.
Yeah. A lot of the shows that I've done, I think are amazing, and
Of course.
like Rami,
Yeah.
or Inside Amy Schumer, or Master of None, a lot of these shows, but they're not quite like when I tell my parents to watch them. There's some scenes where I'm like,
Yeah.
Mom in Texas might not like
Yep.
want to watch that scene.
Yep.
So
Yep.
this is great. This show is like perfect. I'm like, yes,
Do
I really
it.
watch it. You're gonna love, like it's great. Yeah, everyone really does love it. The response has been amazing.
They are huge Monk fans. I mean,
Yes.
they've watched
Yeah.
each episode 95 times. And
Yeah.
so I think I'm like, instead of Monk, just replace it.
Yeah.
These are your friends. It's Martin Short. Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about how you got into this, because I love origin stories and
Oh,
I
yeah.
want to hear yours.
Yeah, so grew up in Texas, like I said, and God, I think that really I was raised in malls. Like I was literally raised. Both of
Imagine that.
I know, so
Imagine
funny.
that.
My parents, my mom was a teacher and my dad was in law enforcement, and they both had a second job, and both of their second
wow.
jobs were in malls. So my mom worked at a shoe store and my dad worked at a cigar shop that was like in a mall.
Oh, I wanted him to be a
And
mall cop. He wasn't in the story. I wanted him to be Paul Blart.
oh yeah, oh no, I know, that'd be fun. No, it's just like a little side gig to make
He
some
worked
extra
in the
money.
cigar shop.
And
Oh,
and so I just, as a kid, like literally I just remember like that was my playground. Like I was just in the mall all the time.
wow. That's
And
amazing.
they'd be like, oh, go run to the store and have some fun and come back and whatever.
Only
So
child or
only
siblings?
child.
Okay,
Yeah.
me too. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
Okay.
only child. But yeah, I think I just was always fascinated with shopping and design, and I would always draw and sketch little. I would see
Seeing
something
all
in a
these
magazine,
stores.
even when I was like 8, 9. Like my mom would always see me sketching outfits. And then I think the first time that I realized how transformative costume design for like film or television could be was probably seeing Clueless.
Right. Oh,
I think that was like such a
for you.
pivotal moment seeing that film for me. I think up until that point I was a real tomboy.
Wow.
And then seeing Alicia Silverstone in those
Yeah.
cute little like knee-high socks with her little pleated skirt, I was like, oh, I want dresses. I want skirts. I want to be,
Uh-huh.
and I made my mom take me to 579. I don't remember if you
Yeah.
remember that or 579.
I would always think
Yeah.
like, what if I got really big and I was above 9? Could
Nice.
I
Like, I know, it's so messed up. It's really like not body,
not timely.
could not exist now for sure and shouldn't. But yeah, we went there and I got like a whole new wardrobe, and it was like that movie like inspired me so much,
Wow. I love
and then
that.
beyond, and then after that, I was like, growing up, I started to get involved in theater in junior high, like middle school and high school. I got really into theater, but more on like the performance side.
Okay.
And then I went to theater, like performance theater school for college and for my undergrad. And
Which one?
halfway through, I went to SUNY Purchase for a year and a half.
Here.
And then yeah. And then I transferred to Fordham University, the Lincoln Center like arts campus.
Yeah, intense.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And they both were such great
Right.
educations and performance educations. But I think like maybe halfway through my time at Fordham, a friend of mine, Tim Chiefy, was directing something, and he needed a costume designer. And he asked me if I wanted to do it. And that was the first time I ever costume designed for anything. And I was like, oh, what am I doing on the performance side? Like, I don't like this is where I need to be. This is it. I think I don't know. Everything fell into place. It was just like, this is really what I am supposed to be doing. And then when I graduated, I got an internship for a TV show in the costume department. And once I saw that side of it, because I'd done I designed for a few theater shows up until that point. But when I saw the TV side of it, I was like, there couldn't be something more perfect for me. Like, it's just, you go into a mall.
Yeah.
And you think, okay, what could this, and then using the psychological stuff that I learned from performance, like, what is this person thinking? Where are they coming from? What's their budget? What state of mind are they in when they're shopping or when they're getting dressed? You have all of those things in your mind. And then I had I live in mall. I lived in malls. So I'm like, oh, I know exactly, like, you tell me this character, I know exactly what store to go to. I can get that thing in 10 minutes. I can bring it back, because so much of it is about being quick also.
And being a star returner.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yes. Definitely being returner. But yeah, so it was just so interesting. Like, all these different aspects of my life kind of were like came together, and it just all made perfect sense. And I also am a huge crafter. My mom was like really, always made everything for, Halloween, and, learned to sew at a young age. And so like seeing the crafting side of it, like, oh, I just get to like glue gun sequins onto something for 10 hours. That's like my favorite. That's amazing.
Yeah. And she's like, oh, all this time I thought she was suffering in the mall and feeling so lonely. I was planting all the seeds. She got to feel really good about that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So they're still in Texas, and then you moved. You went to school in New York, and then I'm sure a show brought you to LA. Did you live in LA?
I've never lived
You didn't
in
have
LA.
to do LA.
No, I know. I've never done LA. I've gone out for tube fittings. Like, sometimes they'll fly us out to LA to fit actors there. So I've done that many times. but I've never done a full job there.
Well, I'm so happy for you, Dana, and all your success.
Thank
And
you so much.
I am tonight, it's Tuesday.
Yeah.
You know where I'll be. I'll be
New
watching
episode.
the show on Hulu. I cannot wait.
Yay.
And I can't wait to talk to you again when you have season 2, because I'm sure there'll be lots of surprises.
Yeah. Yeah. I would love that.
I'll talk to you later.
All right. Thanks, Tiffany. Bye. Thanks.
Thanks for hanging out with Dana and I. I cannot wait for season 2. Who knows when it'll come, but when it comes, I am so ready. I am constantly recommending the show, but every time I recommend it, everybody's like, yeah, I'm already watching it. So I don't know if there's anybody who's not watching it, but if you're not, you're crazy. Next week, we're going to be talking to Justin Raleigh, which is an awesome dream come true for me. The second that I saw The Eyes of Tammy Faye, I reached out to the special effects team and the makeup team, actually, and Justin got back to me right away, and we spoke about how he did the magic that he did for Jessica Chastain on The Eyes of Tammy Faye, and more. He did also a lot of other people in the movie. So that was a really interesting conversation, and we talk about some of the other work that he has out right now that you can see, like the work that his company has done for Impeachment, which I don't know if you're watching, but it's incredible. So until next week, if you like what you hear, share it with your friends, and I will see you soon. Look Behind the Look is a Vinyl Foot production, written by me, your host, Tiffany Bartok, produced by Jace Bartok, edited by Nicole Tucker, with art design by Kelly Riley. If you're interested in learning more, find our video version on the YouTube channel Look Behind the Look podcast. There you can see rare photos and clips from our guests. And please follow us on Twitter at LookBehindPod and Instagram at LookBehindTheLook. If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe. And tell your friends and spread the word. You can subscribe to us on iTunes or any podcatcher of your choice. Thanks for listening to Look Behind the Look.